Two people put in the exact same $261 every single month. Same account type, same 7% average return, same age they both hang it up, 65. One of them retires with $367,000 more than the other, not because they picked better stocks, not because they earned more money. The only difference between them, the only one, is 10 years. That's it. One person started at 25, the other waited until 35. Same habit, same amount, same math, and a gap wide enough to buy a house in cash. Today I'm going to show you exactly how 10 years turns into $367,000, dollar for dollar, so you can see precisely where that money actually comes from and where you land on that clock right now. Meet Jake. Jake is 25. He just landed his first real job, and on a slow Tuesday night, he sets up an automatic transfer, $261 a month, straight into a retirement account. No thinking required after that. He picked 7% as his average return assumption, which is roughly what a diversified stock index has historically returned over long stretches. Then he forgets about it. Life happens. Raises happen. Rent goes up. Some months are tight, and he barely notices the transfer leave his account because it's already gone before he ever sees it. He never touches that number again. Now meet Martin. Martin is also 25 right now, sitting in the exact same starting position. Same income, same city, same 7% assumption sitting right there for him too. But Martin tells himself he'll start once things settle down, once the student loan's gone, once he's making a little more. So he waits and waits. He finally opens that same account, puts in that same $261 a month at exactly age 35, 10 years later to the day. Here's the anchor, and I want you to actually sit with it. Same amount, same return, same age, they both stop at 65. The only thing different between Jake and Martin is when they press start. Everything else about their financial lives could be identical, right down to the dollar. So here's my question for you. Who do you think ends up further ahead? Jake, who started at 25, or Martin, who started at 35? You probably already have a rough guess in your head. Drop your pick in the comments. I actually want to see how close you get to the real number. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit subscribe now, because this channel breaks down exactly this kind of real, calculated money math every single week. So why does a 10-year head start swing this hard? It's not a trick, and it's not a hot stock pick. It's the mechanics of compounding. And once you see how it actually works, it looks almost unfair. Financial researchers at Avior Wealth Management ran this exact scenario. Same monthly contribution, 25 versus 35, and landed on a gap in that same $367,000 range. That's not a coincidence I picked out. It's what the math actually produces. This isn't a one-off study either. 24/7. Wall Street ran a separate version of similar math, this time with someone investing $5,000 a year for just 1 decade and then never touching it again, comparing a 25-year-old start to a 35-year-old start. Their gap landed north of $400,000. Different numbers, same story. The decade you start in matters more than almost anything else in the entire plan. Here's the analogy that made it click for me. Picture a snowball rolling down a hill. The first few feet, it barely picks up anything. But the longer that hill is, the more surface area the snowball has to grab more snow, which makes it bigger, which lets it grab even more. Jake's snowball gets 40 years of hill. Martin's snowball only gets 30. And 10 extra feet of hill doesn't just mean 10 more feet of snow in a straight line. It means the snowball spends its biggest, heaviest years rolling downhill, and a heavy snowball picks up snow faster than a small one. That's the part flat, straight line thinking always misses. And here's a stat that actually surprised me when I checked it. According to research from the Milken Institute, a lot of baby boomers didn't start saving seriously until around age 35, while younger generations have trended a bit earlier. Martin isn't some outlier making a rare mistake. Martin is basically the median. He's doing exactly what most people already do. So why does this keep happening generation after generation? Because in your 20s, 65 doesn't feel real. It's not that people don't care about retirement. It's that a dollar today feels like it's worth a dollar, and a dollar at 65 feels like it's worth almost nothing, even though the math says the exact opposite. That gap between how a dollar feels now versus later is exactly what we're going to name in a minute. And before we get to the full math, let's make $261 feel real for a second, because on paper it sounds like a lot. It's roughly $9 a day. That's one coffee run and a lunch out most days of the week for most people in most American cities right now. It's not an amount that requires a raise or a second job. It's an amount that requires a decision. Jake made that decision at 25 without really thinking hard about it. Martin made the exact same decision with the exact same $9 a day available to him the whole time and just didn't for 10 years. Quick thing. If this is already making you want to go check your own account, go ahead and tap that like button real quick. It takes 1 second and it helps a lot more people actually see this before it's too late for them too. All right, let's actually run the full numbers because I promised you exact math, not just a headline. Actually, pause for a second first. Open your banking or retirement app right now and just look at how old you were on your very first contribution. I'll wait. Right now, before I show you the full math, about half of you are probably guessing this gap lands somewhere around $100,000. Stay with me. The real number is about to look completely different. Both Jake and Martin put in $261 a month, growing at an average 7% a year, compounded monthly, a reasonable, historically grounded assumption for a diversified index fund, though actual returns could run higher or lower in any real year. Jake starts at 25. 5 years in, at age 30, his account has grown to about $18,700. Nothing dramatic yet, just a number quietly building in the background. Here's something worth noticing before we go further. If you fast forward and check Martin's account after his own first 5 years, when he's 40, he's sitting at almost exactly that same $18,700. Same contribution, same rate, same 5 years, same result. Their money behaves identically. It's only the calendar underneath it that's different. Fast forward Jake 15 more years. He's now 45. He's contributed the whole time, and his account sits around $136,000. Martin starts at 35. By the time he's also 45, he's been in the market for 10 years, and his account sits around $45,000. Here's where it actually gets interesting. At this exact checkpoint, the gap between them is about $91,000. That's real money. But it's only about a quarter of where this ends up. If you stop the story right here, you'd guess the final gap might be 2 or 3 times bigger by the time they retire. You'd be way off, and if waiting even feels tempting to you right now, here's what just one single extra year of waiting costs in this exact scenario. Not 10 years, just one. If Martin waits until 36 instead of 35, same everything else, he loses about $24,500 off his final number. 1 year, $24,000. That's the going rate for procrastination in this system, because from here, the snowball really takes over. By age 65, Jake, still putting in that same $261 a month, 40 years total, has grown his account to roughly $685,000. Martin, 30 years total, lands around $318,000. Same monthly amount, both accounts, both stopped contributing at the same age. Final gap, $367,000. And here's the part that could genuinely change how you think about this. Of that $685,000 sitting in Jake's account, less than a fifth of it is actual money he put in. The other roughly 80% is growth on growth on growth. Money his money made without him lifting a finger. There's a name for what actually happened with Martin, and honestly, it happens to almost everyone at some point. It's called present bias, sometimes called hyperbolic discounting, and it's been studied for decades by behavioral economists like George Ainsley and later popularized by researchers including David Laibson at Harvard. The idea is simple. Your brain treats a dollar today as worth way more than a dollar in the future, even when the math says the opposite. It's not laziness and it's not stupidity, it's wiring. A reward you can touch right now just feels more real than a number attached to an age that's decades away. And plenty of industries are built to lean on exactly that feeling. Subscription services, buy now, pay later checkouts, even everyday marketing, all of it is optimized to make the present moment louder than the future one. There's a reason a flashy sale ad is easy to design, and a compelling ad for your retirement account in 40 years basically doesn't exist. Nobody's brain responds to it the same way. Retirement, on the other hand, has zero marketing budget. Nobody's running ads for your 70-year-old self. That's not a knock on Martin, by the way. Starting at 35 isn't a failure. It's just what present bias does to almost everybody without a system fighting back against it. Jake didn't win because he was smarter. He won because he automated the decision before present bias got a vote. So here's the fix. 3 steps, and you can start the first one before this video even ends. Quick note before the steps. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is education, not advice. For your own situation, talk to a licensed professional. Step 1. Open whatever retirement account you already have access to. A 401k through work or a Roth IRA if you don't have one, and set up an automatic transfer today, even if it's small. $50 a month beats $0 a month by an infinite percentage. The account existing and running is the entire game. Real quick on account type, since I get asked this a lot, a Roth IRA lets that same growth come out completely tax-free in retirement, which pairs especially well with starting young. Since you're locking in decades of tax-free growth on money, you probably won't miss much at 25 anyway. Step 2. If your employer offers a 401k match, get every single dollar of it before you do anything else with your money. That's not a return. That's free money doubling on day one, and skipping it is the single most common way people waste this exact math. If you genuinely don't know whether your job offers a match, that's a 5-minute question to HR or a 2-minute check in your benefits portal. Worth doing today, not this weekend. Step 3. Turn on auto-escalation if your plan offers it. A setting that bumps your contribution up by 1% every year, usually timed to your raise, so you never actually feel the increase hit your paycheck. Small, boring, automatic. That's the whole system. I set mine up on a random Tuesday night, half paying attention, and I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to matter this much. That's kind of the point. It's not supposed to feel dramatic. It's supposed to be boring enough that you forget about it and let 10 quiet years do the work Martin never got. Jake and Martin didn't have different luck. They didn't have different jobs. They had one different decision, made 10 years apart, and the math did the rest. So the real question isn't whether you can find $261 a month somewhere in your budget. It's whether future you is going to thank present you or wonder what took so long. If you like this, hit subscribe, drop your age range in the comments like I asked earlier, and share this with the one friend who keeps saying they'll start next year. And if you want to see what it's actually costing you to leave money sitting still instead of growing, go watch $10,000 Sitting in Your Bank. Here's what it costs you monthly. Right after this. It's sitting on your screen right now. Keep pushing forward, stay disciplined, and I will see you in the next one. Grow Bitus.